So hello everyone, we're going to start this session now. My name is Ra Twilly and I will be your moderator today for this session titled Create an IDS. Our speakers today, we have Clive Jordan and Akos Hamar from Planoly and Andrea Aiello from Akka. The session is scheduled to last 90 minutes, including time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to the speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of this session. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please use the chat box in the control panel. For the attendees here in the room, please keep background noise to a minimum, and if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please raise your hand and use a microphone. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in development of standards is unrestricted, and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favor any particular provider and are open, non-binding, and accessible to all. Please take note of antitrust code of conduct. Now I'll hand over to Clive. I'll just get your slides up.
While the slides are coming up, how many people are aware of the IDS as a concept, or how many people it's the first time? So let's do everyone that's aware. Can you put your hands up? Okay, so most people, and then anybody that is the first time that you've ever come into contact with the acronym IDS, Information Delivery Specification. Okay, very few, but a couple. Okay. I'll share the most brief introduction, so we won't be spending much time on the boring stuff. But hopefully, if you're going to follow along, I can see some people with your laptops out. If you head to planoly.com and sign up for a free account, that will be part of that process that we can take you through. Do I have to do something to get my screen up? When I was at the airport, I was at the check-in desk, and somebody behind the desk said to me, "Window or aisle?" And I said, "Window or your what?" Okay. Ouch. That's all I've got. I haven't got any more. No, that was all. I'll start handing the microphone around if you want to, because they get worse than that. So yeah. Here we go. Rescued. Oh, round of applause. Okay, so let's talk about. Cool, that's the worst when you have to ask for it. No, I wasn't. I was talking about. I heard a round of applause. Okay, are we ready? Ready, let's rock and roll. Okay, so we're really excited because IDS gives us an opportunity to talk the same language, which historically has been really difficult because we've got lots of different flexible tools that allow us to do things in lots of different ways. I'm going to share with you today how we can create a human-readable form of information, and then how we can export it using this IDS specification into a machine-readable form so that you can communicate it to others as well. And the beauty of this is that when it's machine-readable, we can also hook it up automatically to check the outputs. So the model, we can color code based on whether it meets those requirements, and whether it does or doesn't, it can be color-coded based on that. So you can really quickly go through this process because we're all talking the same language. So this is what we're going to go through today, these steps. First of all, a brief, very brief introduction to IDS, Information Delivery Specifications. It's kind of solving this challenge. So you're probably pretty familiar with lots of different ways of using Excel and a whole bunch of other tools. They're fantastic tools, but they're incredibly flexible, and it causes confusion when you're creating and using them to create scopes that are in completely different forms and formats. So in steps this wonderful workflow from buildingSMART to say we need to standardize things. And if you look at the left-hand side, we're standardizing through connections to data dictionaries, the dictionaries that say, this is how I should spell something, this is how I should capitalize something, this is how I should define something. And then being able to use that tied into an information delivery specification. And then the information delivery specification can be used to create the information. And then the information could be checked against the information delivery specification. And all of that part is really proactive, really lean, no waste in that workflow. When you're really clearly defining information requirements, using them to create the information, and then checking it, it's a really lean workflow. It's proactive versus this part from an information, if you can define it in a very clear way, yes, this is going to still be required for coordination and clash, etc. But if we can define information requirements in such a structured way that people can understand them, interpret them using machine readable and also automatically checking, we won't have the discrepancies. We won't be reactive on the back end. So that's a beautiful place to wish us to be. How do we get there? So if you are following along, go to plannerly.com and there's a join free button in the top corner. This is going to take us through those steps, so you don't have to, and I'm sure we can share the slides afterwards so you can use them. There's a few animations in here that you can follow along at home when you're really wanting to get into the IDS groove. Late night one time. That's what I do. So I'm just being very open and honest, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's plannerly.com. To create an account, in the top right, join free button, use one of your profiles that you have already, anything from your Google, Microsoft, Autodesk, Procore, and a whole bunch of other stuff. If you already have an account, like I happen to, you can hit the login button and it will log you straight into your Plannerly account. When you're in your account, here we're in a free account, and you can start creating projects. If you are following along now and you've just signed up, it will automatically boost you into creating your first project, and you'll be presented with all of the templates inside of the docs module. And the point to that is, a bonus step in here is a one-click BIM execution plan, because we like that sort of thing as well. How do we optimize this? You've got a whole bunch of templates in the docs module before we step into the scope. And if you click once for the exchange information requirements, BIM execution plan, we start to create those as tabs inside of this docs module. And we see that it's a database-driven environment, automatically completing things, and being able to have accountability, which is completely missing in a lot of our processes. So here we're assigning this specific section, unfortunately to me, to complete it, adding tools like AI to be able to help you to do this, and then enabling a workflow that will help you to get to some kind of an agreement. But we're not here to create BIM execution plans. We're here to use the buildingSMART data dictionary in order to generate an information delivery specification. So moving to the scope module, which is the second module here, we closed the library because we don't want to cheat. We want to try to create this from scratch. And we're going to click to add an element, an entity, something in our database. And we, at the moment, haven't hooked into any buildingSMART data dictionary. So when we start typing, we're essentially just typing, and there's no autocorrect, there's no governing dictionary that we're using. So we're all going to, if everyone in this room was going to write wall or wall foundations or something along those lines, it's going to maybe be different. And if you all create something in a different way, even though it's a database and not using Excel, it's still going to be really difficult to check it. So if we head to up to the right-hand side, we can see, I think I can, yeah. So up here to the dashboard, we can choose which data dictionaries that we want to hook into. So you've got a list of all of these different data dictionaries, and here we're choosing Uniclass as an example. And when we have hooked into Uniclass, we can now go back to the scope module. Wonder if it keeps on going. Create an element. So we've hooked into Uniclass as our definition. And I'm wondering if this is the same slide or if I have to press something to go forward. Oh, yeah, one more. Okay. So now that we've selected our classification as a dictionary, when we start typing wall, we're now hooked into the Uniclass as a list of all of the available rows, entity definitions inside of that dictionary. And whether it's internal wall tiling systems or whether it's modular wall systems, masonry wall units. So whichever one, masonry wall systems is the one we want to pick. In this case, we're going to choose this. And as we choose it, it's obviously going to mean that we're using the same terms and terminology. And every time we link one of these, you now have a nice logo that you can click on. You can see that it's classified with the code correctly. And if you were to click on that, it would take you to the buildingSMART data dictionary. So this connection means that every time people are adding things into your dictionary, into your project, they're following the same naming conventions and terms and terminology and coding classification systems that you're describing, that you're defining in your requirement. Okay, so once you've created this row, you're then going to want to define information requirements. And in order to do that, we're going to say in a milestone, we need a specific requirement. And this is going to need an information, a piece of information. And that could be anything from the carbon details to the materials to the dimensions potentially. In this example, we say material, and we haven't got something in the project library, but we can see that the buildingSMART data dictionary has a whole host of 17 different properties, essentially. And now we have assigned that requirement, and it too is hooked into the buildingSMART data dictionary. So if you wanted to click on that and then find it somewhere in the dictionary, you would bring up a web page to be able to see that. So once we've done that, we can understand this, and we can also export it so that other tools can understand this. We've done some webinars with Celebri, for example, if you're using that tool today to check your models. We've also done some webinars with ArchiCAD and some of the Nemetschek group. And we also have plugins with Revit. So if you were using these IDS specifications like this, now you can import them into a bunch of other tools as well. So once you've created this set of requirements, it can then be used in a multitude of different places once you've created it and exported it as an IDS. And it's simply a case of picking and choosing IDS and then filtering it based on your set of requirements. So that's great. We've defined one entity that has one requirement. But what happens if you have a whole bunch of needs and you have use cases that you want to be able to define and then reuse? We have a library, and in this example, we have a couple of use cases that we're going to bring in: the cost estimation and the asset information model. And by simply selecting those two use cases and then picking maybe a discipline, in this case, the architectural discipline, and hitting the add button, it's now going to show us how simple it is to reuse those use cases and reuse that set of requirements. And now if I open up, expand all of those rows that were brought in, we can see interior walls and doors and elevators, etc., over those two use cases with the information requirements defined. And this set of requirements can then be exported, and it's a bigger data set. It's a lot easier to define these. It's a database, so you can cut and slice it. You can export maybe just the structural requirements as an IDS for this stage, for this specific use case. So once you've defined it once, you're able to reuse these as project templates time and time again. And in this example, we're going to say, okay, we've got a great big database of requirements. I'm going to export now this set of requirements. I could choose, for example, filters to say just this team's requirements, just this tag, just this type of set of requirements data that's needed, and put this into a file that we can also add an e-signature to. So now there's a set of requirements that actually becomes contractually obligating as well. And once this is defined, it's stored in our file manager, and it has that a fixed page which has your signatures on, project-based signatures, much more secure than any other tool that you might have to download a PDF and send it through email, or use one of the other tools that maybe doesn't have specific to project-based and accountability that is involved in them being invited to the project and going through that workflow. Okay. You could use that IDS somewhere else. So you could import that into, as I mentioned, Celebri. We also have that third step there, so docs, scope, and verify. And the verify module, we are showing these cards, these tasks, and we're starting to see which ones teams are saying they are completing. And they are cards, they can be dragged and dropped. It's just like a Kanban board, drag and drop each task to status it. And then when we're filtering in this example, when somebody says, I've completed all of the information requirements associated with ceilings, elevator doors, and interior walls, and I am going to upload my model into Plannerly in this case, or hook it into, we connect directly to buildingSMART, we connect into Autodesk Construction Cloud to be able to check that model against those requirements. So once we've seen which tasks are completed, we can then bring a model in or connect into any other one of these 70-odd file formats, Revit, IFC, DWG, etc., SketchUp files, anything that has geometry and data. And now when we open that model, it's now connecting to show there are 29 ceilings, there are 3 elevator doors, there are 81 interior walls, and the percentages 86, 75, and 65 are the data completeness. That's how much the information that's in the model meets the information that's set as the set of requirements in your IDS. And then when you're wanting to review them, you're simply clicking on each one of them, and it will color code to say, all of the green stuff, that's good, it's complete. But if we open up that card and we can see that there are 4 of those ceiling objects that are not meeting the requirements, and simply by clicking on those 4, we can see exactly which ones they are and start to not create that error report, but actually the person that's submitting the model is the one that is saying, oh, I'm not quite finished, I'm going to go and fix this before I then turn this model from being in progress to being shared. So this principle is that we are able to define information requirements in a machine readable, in a human readable, and connect it right the way through to the deliverable and display whether we are meeting the requirements in an automated fashion. That's what I wanted to share. Hopefully, we've been Akash has been helping a few people. If you want access to these slides, then just let us know and we can send you a direct link. We'll definitely share what we can with you. If you've got questions, I'd love to answer them afterwards. But I think I'll hand over to Andre to share some with Aka and how this looks in other environments. And being able to import and export and share IDS files between lots of different providers is a really, I think it's a really beneficial thing for our industry.
Thank you, Ivan. Good afternoon, everyone. I will start to show you some slides, and then if we can try to make some exercise with you, if you agree. So can you, okay. Is it not this one? No. Just a second. Okay. Thank you. Giuseppe will help me to scroll down the slides. Okay, let's start very quickly. Go on, Giuseppe, please. I'm Andrea Iello, and I work for H Software. I hope that you know already this company, but we are very focused on the Open BIM world. And we have this platform called ASBIM that's very easy to use and focused on the Open BIM. We implement many standards and many tools, but let's go on. Yeah, this is a little bit a story of H. We are an Italian company. Now we are 31 years old, so we participate in many activities. We have more than 19 IFC standard certification with buildingSMART. Okay, let's start. First of all, I want to show you this book. We have just released this book about IDS, so you can download this book, and there's a QR code later. But you can use this book to understand much better IDS than you know now. And there are many exercises, many examples, so you can, I hope, learn very well IDS. Go on. So this is the, no, just go. Okay, this is the QR code. If you want to download it, you can just click on the QR code and log in the website and download the book. It is in English, but also in other 4 languages. So just a little bit to waiting for if you want to download the QR code. Okay, please. So this afternoon we can have some exercise by using this platform called ASBIM. So please, first of all, if you want to do this exercise, go to this link, cloud.asbim.com, and log in. You can log in by using different sign-in like Google, Apple, Facebook, or you can register with H Software. And then you will find a structure like a folder and files. So first of all, you need to create a new folder. Just clicking on this button on the right, create a new folder, and then in the folder you can create your IDS. Go. You can create a new document, find IDS, and just click, write down the title, and then click on create. Okay, so first 3 steps are log in cloud in ASBIM, create a new folder, and then create a new IDS file. As soon as you create a new IDS file, you will find this application, ASBIM IDS editor, that is able to create the IDS. So let's see this video. Go. Non va? No, the other one. Okay. So as you've seen before, the first part of IDS is general data. So you just enter here title, email of the author, date, version, and so on. And then you can start to add specification. So click on specification, add a new specification. You need to give a name to the specification, FC version, description, and all the basic information. The next step will be write down the filter, which IFC elements you want to check. You can check by using different way. In this case, I'm writing an FC class filter. I'm filtering elements belonging to an FC class. And the second step is write down the requirements. So for example, here I'm requiring that the FC site has a property called buildable area belonging to the pset site common and with a specific value equal than 0.001. I can write down some instruction and also a URI to the property. Then I can clone the first requirements and write down the second one, just changing the name of the property. And then we will try to do this together. But just now I want to show you all the functionality together. And again, I can write a new specification, changing the name of the property and so on. Then I can also add a new specification. I can write down the name and the specification, and then add first the filters. In this case, I'm going to filter the FC project class, and then the requirements. For example, requiring that some properties are there. And so on, I can write all the requirements I want to check. Again, I'm cloning the first specification and I'm changing some stuff. So very quickly, I can add more and more specification to the list. Here, I'm going to check the FC space. With this case, I write down many properties check and go on. So this is the final results. In the first page of the website, you will find a human readable format of the FC, of the IDS, as you can see here. Then here we have a report, a PDF file summarizing the requirements and the filtering and all the specifications, so you can use this for the contract with your clients. Just writing in a human readable format. This is the XML format because, as you know, IDS is a human readable, it's an XML file. So this is the XML file. As you have seen before, you can use BSDD as the starting point for your property requirements. I mean, you can find on BSDD the name, the exact name of the property you want to check, the classification, so you can use the BSDD in a very easy way. For example, in this case, I'm just going to select this classification and filter the properties you want to add to your example. Just quickly, I want to show you another video with IDS. IDS is the other application that you can use to check the IDS against an FC file. So in this case, you open the FC file by using this application called Asbin browser, then select Asbin IDS, select the IDS file you want to use, and the software will check that requirements are met or not. In this case, we have many issues, 452, and you click on OK, and you will find here all the information about the IDS, the general data, the first specification, and the specification is red because we have some errors. Okay. As now, if you click on here, we have a report of all the error code belonging to this specification. And if you open, you also will see all the elements belonging to this classification that are in error. All the list, all the red list is means that there are some errors. You can select the element with the errors. Here you can see the problem. Where is the problem? Here there's a property missing. In this case, you can use also this software to change the property. So you just click on the pencil and you add the property value. So you can use the IDS with ASBIM editor to update the IFC file. So if you go on, you can correct all the issues. So at the end, you have the IFC file well formatted, well done. In this case, we can add a value from a combo box and so on. And then we have many other functionality to check and to, for example, to color the elements belonging to the FC file based on the FC specification. So in this case, the red one belonging to the IFC door and the green one are IFC window. We have also an FC report, a list of all the errors with table list. We can add some columns to this list, and we can order in different way. We can group by code, error code. All the errors have been coded and classified, so you will find out which type of error is based on the number. We can also see the error code directly on the IFC file, an IFC model. We can download the issue list by using BCF format or Excel or a CSV. In this case, we have exported by using BCF, so we have all the errors visualized by our ASBIM BCF application. We can choose another IDS if you want to check more. Okay, and so on. So with ASBIM IDS, you can check the IFC file against your IDS. And we have some functionality that we have seen. Okay, now I will try to together, if you want, to do some example. So let's start by using a very simple example. I go to my computer, is here. Okay. So you should have, I don't know if you have already some folders, but anyway, let's just create a new folder like here, clicking here, my IDS example. Click on the folder, and now we can start to create a new IDS file. So let's write here IDS, create, name, Okay, so first step, entering all the general data. A title, a date, we can enter a date, today, email author, version 1.0, milestone, copyright, purpose of your IDS file, and description. Then let's go here to this link here and click on add a new specification. Again, let's say my spec, description, instruction. You need to save here the IFC version you want to use. You can use just one, or you can also use all of them. And then let's start to find, to write down the filters. So the first step is try to understand which IFC element you want to filter. You can use 6, it's called facet. I don't know if you already know, but there's 6 types of filter. You can filter by IFC class, by using attribute, properties, classification, material, and part of. So let's try to filter by using IFC class. So I want to select all the IFC class. For example, IFC site. So I'm saying that the model must contain entities that have IFC site. Okay, and then here I write the requirements. Which are the requirements? For example, the IFC name is, I can write the attribute, name is site 1. So in this way, value site 1. So what I'm saying here, I'm saying that in my IFC model must be an IFC site class with this name, with this property name value site 1. Okay, so if there is this property, is okay. Otherwise, we have an issue, and we have a red line on the IDS. We can add another specification, for example, by using an IFC, another one. Let's say, for example, we can use a classification. We want to filter all the IFC elements belonging to IFC, a specific IFC classification. So let's write down, let's choose classification, and then here I can choose, for example, classification name, ATIM 9.0. And here, writing down all the property. For example, I want to say that all the elements classified by using ATIM class classification must have some property. And here, I can write down the property name. For example, the property name is called power, belonging to the pset. For example, let's say pset electric power, electric. Okay. And here I can write down the specific value. I can say that it's an FC real and write the value. Or maybe I can say this is greater than 200. In this case, I'm just saying that in the model, all the FC elements belonging to the ATIM 9 classification must have this property. Okay? Do you have any question? Are you following me? Are you doing something on your... Yeah. Okay? just to show you, we can go here and have all a report with all the specification that we are writing already in PDF format. So we can download it, print, and send to the client. Another very good features is that we, inside our IDS editor, we have the audit tool. buildingSMART created an audit tool to check if the IDS file is well formatted. For example, if I create a new file, a new specification, add, but I miss some data like this, and I click here, I get some error. So, for example, here it says that the schema is invalid because there is no IFC version in this specification. Okay, so by using this audit tool, we are sure that our IDS file is well done. When we have some errors, we need to find the error. Just let's do some other example. Very interesting is we can also add some specification by using material. For example, we can say that all the FC element belonging to the FC wall must have material wood. So add requirement for material and say material name wood. So I'm saying here that all the FC wall must have material wood. So it means that the walls must be done by wood. So this is another facet material. So we can also use the BSDD, and I show you now. For example, we can say here we add another property. All the FC wall must have wood material, but also I want to have some specific property. For example, now I'm searching on BSDD. So if I write down here wall, let's try to find out. Okay, these are all the dictionary that use the wall inside his name. So let's find some element. I choose this one. I want to choose one. And here I have all the information about the wall. For example, the transmittance of the wall. So I click here and add. And I have this new property got from the buildingSMART data dictionary. So I can select the property from buildingSMART data dictionary, also more than one together, and I can write the specification in a very easy way. So let's do another example. So we have done an FC class classification. Attribute is very similar to the property we have done already with the name, material. The last part is another facet. It's called part of. So we can try to establish a connection between IFC element with others. We can ask that some IFC class have the connection, a relationship with the other IFC class. For example, we can say that there is a relationship between this type of relationship, an IFC real aggregate with the class IFC window. So in this case, I'm trying to say that there is a relationship between some classes, or that must be a relationship. As you have seen, there's less. The facet in the filter and in the requirements are the same. There are 6 facets that you can use in the requirements and in the filtering. It's almost the same. just the idea behind this difference. So the first stuff, you select the FC elements, and the second part, you ask for the requirements. But you use the same facet to do both filtering and the requirements. Okay. As soon as you have done this, your example, if you go down here, we have this folder. So there is a shared with me, where there are all the files shared by your colleagues, but there is a special colleague, is AK Software. And here you can find all the examples that we have used inside the book. So we have all the book divided by chapter. For example, if I open this IDS, is the IDS example of chapter 8. It's very simple, but very meaningful. So here we have all the example. Here you have also all the exercise that we have written inside the book that you must do. So exercise 1 and so on. And also here you have an FC file you can use to check the IDS. So this is the FC file that you can use for the example. I click on IDS. I select an IDS file. For example, select case this one. And now I'm checking this FC file against this IDS file. First of all, we check that the IDS is well done, so it's well formatted by using the audit tool, and then we do the check. Okay, in this case, there are no issue. But we have two specifications here, the first one and the second one. The first one, if you click here, you read the content of the specification. The model may have IFC world standard that with these properties. The second one is another specification with these other properties and this other classification, uniclass and so on. Under each classification, there are all the IFC elements belonging to this classification. In this case, all the walls and so on. Here you can see the value of the property required by the IDS and so on. So this is a brief introduction of IDS. Then there are many other specific questions about specific use cases, but these are, I think it is a good start to use IDS. Anyway, I don't know if you have any questions. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, usually there is a small desk where you can work and talk with the guys and use the computer. Here, there's a huge desk, so it's very...
Okay, well, thank you very much. My first question is that, so every specification is defined at the property level. I have to select an IFC class, go to one of the properties, and I say, this is the restriction on this property.
Mm-hmm. This is an example, yeah. If you use FC class.
Everything is done at the property level.
Yeah, attribute, properties, and you can use also classification to filter the FC element.
No, but
what do you mean at the property level?
Like to specify something for walls,
yeah,
I have to select that I want to specify the name of the wall, and then I select wood.
Okay.
Can I specify anything for wall, like saying the whole wall need to do that, or do I have to just select a specific property in the class?
No, you can specific also, you can say also all the wall.
All the walls
Yeah,
must
if you don't
be-
specify the attribute or the property, you select for all the wall. But for example, what do you want to check? Which are your requirements?
So that brings me to the other thing here, because what I'm noticing is that it seems like the system here looks at information as what's in the IFC file.
Okay.
So I cannot ask for a cost report for the project.
No,
Okay.
it's not, no. This is information delivery specification. So you can check only information that are already in the file.
In IFC file.
An FC file. You cannot make calculation or others. Yeah.
Okay, so this ends up to be a checker on the quality of the IFC file.
Yeah.
So does the IFC file give me the information that I need for every class or every property?
Yeah.
But it's very hard to get to know a safety report or a budget
No,
report.
this is not the scope of the IDS. It's out of the scope. IDS is just information delivery. So if you want to check anything else, you need to use the software that analyzes your IFC file and calculate or get all the information like Solibri, or maybe you need to make your own algorithm.
Okay. What if I have two types of walls that I want to specify different things for them?
You need to find a way to classify in the different way. I mean, if there is a property that change, or there is a classification that you can use, or there is an attribute, there is some, you need to find a way to select the two set of walls. If if the walls are the same, you cannot select into different sets. I mean, you need to find a difference between them.
Okay. I think that's all what I have. Thanks.
Yeah.
There's two parts to the IDS. It's like, what does this apply to? So you have to have some way of defining what it applies to, whether it's a classification or it's like just something called this. And then it's what information requirements are needed. So it's the applicability and then the requirements for that applicability. They're the two parts to the IDS that you just need to define. And it can be an abstracted level, whatever level you want to. Yeah. And then it's how that's used in whatever tools that they are ingesting the IDS. That's the difference. I think you can still define things at a, so if you're using Uniclass and the classification code for a report is there and you want some information in that report, that's still able to be defined, but how are you going to check that? What are you going to use to check that is the other side of it.
May I? Yeah. My questions are related to the client versus the consultant roles, and then where in the timeline of initiating a project would you start an IDS? So is it reasonable that with a functional program or a feasibility study, the client would start an IDS and then the prime consultant would carry it through? Or how does that work in terms of functional program,
depending on
high-level requirements?
I don't know, maybe
I can't tell the consultant what to specify. All I can
yeah,
say is what's
in the book we have proposed some workflow, but yeah, you can start from the beginning, from the requirements. So as soon as you have the requirements, I think you should have an IDS to specify these requirements. So you should avoid to use a Word or a PDF or something like that. But yeah, you want to say?
Yeah, it's just like, when can you structure those requirements and who's asking for them? I think it's like, can I use IDS to do this? Should be the question. And it depends on what they're asking for. But the point is that it's in a structured way that people can understand. So as soon as you can get it into IDS, the better. That's my perspective.
Yeah. IDS cannot specify many things. You can specify something, almost everything, but not everything. But if you can use it, I think you should do.
You should push us to develop software that can do more of those things. That's what we want. If there are applicability, if there are use cases for this early on, then let's get into that rather than getting into the weeds of every single element, every single property, and every single verification, which obviously is important, but yeah.
Yeah. Also because you can, if you think about IDS, if you write the IDS, maybe you think about how to structure your data. For example, how to separate walls from other walls. You need an information if you want to have different property sets for different walls. So if you start to use an IDS, you can find how to create your data set inside the project in a very good way.
So just a quick question on, sometimes we get from the client an Excel file that has the information requirements in a tabular format. Can you
Fire
import
them.
that? Pardon?
Fire them.
No, but can you bring that in, at least part of the,
I don't know.
or you have to do it all manually?
We don't. I don't know if Plannerly do.
You can bring in an Excel. Actually, I mean, it depends. Excel, you can do everything in, the diagram that we had up there is, so the flexibility of Excel is its beauty. It's brilliant. But if they're defined in a structured way in the Excel file, we do import, but I think that there's going to be manual processes in there all the time.
To edit it.
To
and
edit it, yeah.
Just because there's sometimes there's a lot of information requirements, many properties that you're checking for each object. And so are people doing that for every project, or do they do it once and then copy the template and edit it? Just seems like a lot of work.
Usually when a client asks something like that, we need to create a specific importer for your specific Excel format. So for example, we have some clients in Italy that have an Excel file where there are all the properties. So we need to create a specific importer. The normal IDS editor doesn't import the Excel file, the standard one, yeah.
Yeah, I think manually defining it, and then as you import it into any tool, it becomes a template. So you can just reuse parts of that selectively on your next project. There's always there's a difficult part to get started, and then it makes it easier afterwards.
Yeah, if you use a BSDD, it's also a good choice. So don't use Excel, but create a buildingSMART data dictionary online and use that.
And we'd love to help you as well. Like, as in, we do that for clients, and we've got teams that do that for clients. So if that's something.
Excel is evil, no? What do you think? Excel
is what?
is evil, no?
It's so useful.
Yeah, but
in some ways it's evil. We can agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to manage it. Yeah. You need to use you need to be careful. Yeah. Any question? We didn't see many other features like regular expression and many other feature of IDS. But yeah, if you want, you can find everything on the book or just on the web. But this is, I think, a starting point to create an IDS.
Yeah.
But typically in these examples, is it the consultant that is creating the IDS, or it's the client creating it ahead of contracting the consultant?
I think it's anyone that was creating that Excel file, they should be the one probably creating the IDS file now. So whoever's creating the requirements and were creating them in an Excel file, that should be their job now, moved over to machine readable format. And yeah, you mentioned regular expressions. Man, my head burst every time I tried to understand how to do that. So inside of Plannerly, when you define your regular expression, which basically means like it needs to start with these 3 letters, have 6 characters, end with 2 numbers. Now we've got AI that does all that for you. So you just say, your normal language, and it creates that regular expression for you, so you don't have to think about it. That sort of thing. We talked about AI in our discussion yesterday, and it's using it in the right places. That's what's important.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think we need only one version of this IDS file in the design phase, or it is a file that has to be developed and more detailed within the design phase? At the first, we don't know many details about what we want to have. Maybe after a month or several months, then we need to have more details in it. So we need to have second version, third version of it, or it should be steady from the first time in the design phase, and it will not change till the end.
I think it's a live environment, why it's online, and then you're basically saying at this point, this set of requirements becomes a contractual requirement, and that could be filtered out from the database. So that database of IDS continues to develop over time, but it gets sliced off for each contract, each appointment throughout the process for different people.
Yeah. As you have seen in the general data, there's a version info, so you need to use that version info to update it. Also, there is a milestone, so you can have the same IDS file for different milestones. So this is the way to use it.
So is the BIM execution plan actually a series of IDS, or where's the link between BEP and IDS? Because you showed from Plenary an IDS overview where you also assign faces and people. So
yeah, so I think that all of it is a subset, but it's difficult because people think of the BIM execution plan as a Word document, as a PDF document. So we think of this as an online database of all of these requirements, and whether it's textual description or whether it's specific database task that's potentially then exported in an IDS, all of that for us, they're project requirements. They are as part of this online living and then sliced off, as we talked about, for each one of the tender sets of documents. So I think it's all the same thing. A lot of people have the sort of a different conception of what a BIM execution plan is, but unfortunately nobody reads those. So don't do it like that. Try and make some kind of an online database in some way to do it, all in the same thing.
Yeah, okay, a structured way to describe the BEP and maybe derive from there different ideas for each step of the planning phase. So.
Yeah, the way that we break it up in the scope, it's the visual database of requirements per milestone, per stage in the project. And that's live as well. And that encompasses every task from appoint the information manager early on to, did I get this property on this wall in the delivery of my asset model? And that's right the way throughout from cradle to grave. So that's how we see it, and some part of that might be really applicable to somebody early on, and that's how you use certain tools, and sometimes it might be the end of that. So it's, yeah, trying to be a lot of things to a lot of different parts of the workflow, but at the end of the day, it's just task in a database, and hopefully it forms a contract.
I think we...
Now time for the dance.
Yeah. Any more questions?
We'll save you from that, don't worry. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Any other questions? No?
No. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to you as well. Thank you.
If you do want the slides emailed, my email address is pretty easy. It's just clive@plannerly.com. If you want to email me, I'll send you the slides directly. Clive, CLIVE @plannerly.com.